Hello, can you hear me? No?
I can hear you, Jason.
No, I can't hear you. Can everybody hear me?
I can.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Heredia, we are clear to get started now. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, this meeting is now called to order at 5:33 p.m. Madam Secretary, can you please call roll?
Yes, Chairperson Heredia,
Present.
Vice Chair Raúl Velasco,
Present.
Commissioner Carlos Barrera,
Present.
Commissioner Jason Gavilanes,
Present.
Commissioner Amy Sanchez. Present. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Chavez, can you lead us in the invocation?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Chair Heredia and members of the Traffic and Safety Commission and staff. Please join me and bow your head in prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we are grateful for the privilege of meeting here this evening. We ask your blessing on the proceeding of this meeting and ask that you give guidance and wisdom to the commissioners in making their decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner Gavilanes, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Yes. Would you please stand wherever you are and place your right hand over your heart and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Madam Secretary, was the agenda posted according to state law?
It was posted according to law.
Okay, thank you. This is the time given to the public to speak on agenda and non-agenda items. And staff, were any comments received?
No comments were received, Mr. Chair.
Okay, approval of minutes. I need a motion from a commissioner on approving the minutes of the meeting on August 2nd, 2022.
I'll first the motion.
I second the motion.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, can you please take roll call vote?
Certainly. Chairperson Heredia,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Gavilanes,
Yes.
and Commissioner Amy Sanchez. Yes. Thank you.
Oh, Ms. Sanchez,
Yes.
I was here for the last meeting, so I believe I get a vote today.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You're correct. I'm sorry. Yes,
Oh.
then how would you like to vote?
Yes,
Thank you. I'm so sorry about that.
no problem.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go on to the first item on the agenda here, traffic safety analysis. Looks like a request for added protected left turn lane. And Ms. Chavez, will you please give the report?
Yes, good evening, Chair and members of the Traffic and Safety Commission. We received the request for the addition of a protected left turn lane at the intersection of Garfield and Clara, and the report will be provided by our city engineer, Doug Benosh, this evening. Thank you, Doug.
Good afternoon or good evening, Chairperson and members of the committee. We have a request for adding protective left turn facing at Garfield and Clara. This request for an increased capacity and allow for safe travel while making left turn signals. But as with all traffic signal investigations, we have to do a warrant study for that. But with this project and specifically, back in fiscal year 18-19, the city budgeted funds to design the left turn movements at this intersection. However, one of the major concerns was that since Clara and Garfield join and meet at an acute angle, the northwest and the northeast and the southwest corners are sharper angles, making it more difficult for trucks to turn. On the southwest corner, there is a turn pocket there with an island there for pedestrians for a wider turn radius for trucks, but the northbound side does not have one. And then we start to explore that. This would be the time and place to do that. And then also when we started calculating right-of-way costs and even the current signal costs, we were exceeding the budget allocation for this project altogether. But then we were able to come across the Gateway Cities Council of Governments, the I-710 TAC early action funding. And we basically going to create, because there was some other intersection improvements on Clara Street that would help increase capacity on Clara, providing additional lanes for turn movements and through movements at Clara and Eastern. We're trying to reconfigure Habanera and Clara to make that a more efficient signal versus a three-way signal to increase capacity. And then also we include the work here at Clara and Garfield and some striping changes up at Florence and Clara, or Clara and Scout. So we made a presentation back in, when did we make this presentation? Apologize for my notes.
I think it was November last year, Doug.
November last year. Made a presentation, the I-710 TAC to go after those signal improvements, which would include left turn phasing at Garfield and Clara. Winds up being about a $4.5 million project between design and construction. The I-710 TAC agreed to it, and I believe it's going through the process to have the full TAC and COG boards to approve it and subsequently to have Metro approve it. And we're anticipating a funding agreement for this project spring and summer of 2023, which would be next year. So our goal would be our recommendation is just to postpone this and bring this to receive and file for the project. I have included as part of the presentation, the PowerPoint presentation we made to the I-710 TAC committee, which shows the improvements and the right-of-way improvements for all the intersections. For any questions, I'll be happy to take them. So basically, we're just postponing this request until we get the Metro funding to design and construct the improvements. So basically just receive and file would be the recommended motion.
Do we have any questions or comments from the commissioners?
Yes, I have a question. Well, what exactly are the proposed? Long story short, what is it that we're trying to accomplish throughout Clara? I know so to increase efficiency in traffic, but are we adding lanes, taking away lanes, or designating left turn lane only?
Primarily, specifically Garfield and Clara, there are dedicated left turn lanes at the intersection. They're just not signalized. So you go on the green ball. Basically, you have a clear path of travel to safely make the left turn movements against not against oncoming traffic. So we would put the left turn phasing in all four directions as part of the project from that standpoint. Clara and Eastern, we're trying to squeeze in with some sidewalk modifications, a through dedicated right turn pocket and a dedicated left turn pocket and a through lane for the eastbound direction of Clara coming through across Eastern. From that standpoint, to increase efficiency at that intersection. Then Habanera and Clara, we're trying to realign it to make it instead of a split phase signal, a regular 8-phase signal. Just to creep operational efficiencies. We're not changing any of the lane configurations on Clara. It's still one lane basically in each direction. with parking lanes, with parking on the street as exists today. But you have to understand, Clara is, for locals, is the only it's the only other street that crosses the river that parallels Florence. So we're trying not to impact the parking per se, but we're going to just impact the intersections with some capacity enhancements.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
If I may add, Doug, if you look at page 17 of the PDF agenda packet, it's kind of hard to tell, but you'll see white arrows that have been placed at each leg of the intersection, showing the dedicated left turn and right turn movements. So you kind of see where those pockets would be dedicated, along with the reduction of the sidewalk shown on the north side of Clara and the bold red line. If that helps.
Yeah, it does. I saw it. The first time I saw it, I noticed the little arrows.
Yeah, they were
but yeah.
added.
Yeah, once Doug gave me the run through or provided the run through, the arrows made much more sense.
Yeah,
Thank you.
otherwise it looks like it's part of the Google map or the arrows.
Correct.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for clarification. Thank you, Doug.
No problem.
Okay, I need a motion from the commission to receive and file.
I first motion.
Okay, and I need a second.
I'll go ahead and second.
Thank you. And Madam Secretary, can you take roll call vote, please?
Yes, Chairperson Heredia,
Yes.
Vice Chair Velasco,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Gavilanes,
Yes.
and Commissioner Sanchez? Yes. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, traffic safety analysis, a request for directional aids on Clara Street as well. Ms. Chavez, can you please give the report?
Yes, good evening again, Chair and members of the Traffic and Safety Commission. The department received the request for the placement of directional aids on the 5800 block of Clara Street, which is just east of Eastern Avenue, to help direct vehicles that are traveling eastbound against the parked cars on the south side of Clara. And I will also refer this report to our city engineer, Doug Benash. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you. This request is basically when on Clara Street, as you cross eastern and eastbound direction, there was a senior facility that was developed several years back, and they widened that portion of Clara from eastern to the eastern property line of this development to allow for a two-way left turn pocket, getting in and out of the complex and so forth. However, when it gets to the end of the property, it necks back down to the original width of Clara. And this is where the complaint comes in. That first house there, where it necks down again, I guess has had some rear end accidents or cars sideswiping the vehicles there. I do not have any data to support that, but that's probably the genesis of this request. And it does make sense. It is kind of a blind approach that you have come to it. And so from a safety standpoint, we looked at it from that standpoint. And what our determination is that we just need to have a channelization line starting from the driveway of the complex to the driveway of the first property, just to sort of direct traffic, veer traffic towards the back to center line of Clara Street prior to getting to the parked cars. And that's our recommendation. That's shown in the attachment 2 in your agenda package. And so we're recommending that change to the streets and have it striped by the city staff. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
I have a question. Where it is wider by that new property, is there any markings on the road that it is like one lane or anything to signify that currently?
There's parking in front of the complex, but once you get past the complex driveway, it converts to red curb all the way through the transition for no parking. Until you get to the first house after the transition, and you can start parking out on the street.
Okay, got it. So then the new line will just clearly show that it's just kind of shortening.
Yeah, the
that area to
roadway's
one
getting
lane.
narrower.
Got it. Okay, that sounds good. Any other questions or comments from commissioners?
No questions here.
I do think it's a very good idea. I mean, I've lived on that street for the last 22 years. So, I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about. So, yeah, it's a great idea. Yep, that's all I have to say.
Okay, sounds good. I need a motion from the commission to
I'll
approve
motion.
staff's recommendation.
Oh, sorry, I'll motion.
A second
Yeah, and I need
emotion.
it in a second. Great. Madam Secretary, can you take roll call vote, please?
Certainly. Mr. Chair Arivia,
Yes.
Vice Chair Velasco,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Gavilanes,
Yes.
and Commissioner Sanchez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the third item on our agenda here, traffic safety analysis request for red curb on Garfield Avenue.
Good evening again. The Department of Public Works received a request for the installation of red curb at the driveway approach to 8007 Garfield Avenue. Now refer this report over to our city engineer, Doug Benash. Thank you, Doug.
No problem. Good evening again. We have a request from the property owner at 8007 Garfield Avenue. And this is a single family, well, probably multifamily residential property with a driveway access onto Garfield Avenue, but they're right next to the Pizza del Sol, which is at the corner of Garfield and Quinn. And it appears cars are parking, even through the Google Maps, are parking close to the edges of the driveway. In the attachment, you can see two cars parked within close proximity to the driveway. So with that in mind, what we're recommending is that we red tip the drive approach by 3 to 5 feet, depending on conditions out there, to maintain a parking space at the corner by the public works crew in order to give, and they're just requesting not to have cars parked in front of the driveway. If it becomes an enforcement issue, but this is at least to visually observe that you got some red curb here, you can not park in front of it. And the recommendation is to install the red tipping. So I'll be glad to answer any questions.
I just had a quick question. Do you know how many inches or how big the red how big it will be, like approximately?
Anywhere from 3 to 5 feet. It basically paints the ramp of the ramp of the driveway and a couple of feet beyond the top of the ramp. And that's the curb face.
Okay.
And
Okay, and it looks.
sorry, I
Go
have
for it,
one
Will.
question. For example, if somebody were to, after this project, if this gets approved and the red paint does get installed, would the residents be able to call the police department to complain, or how would this be enforced?
It basically boils down to them calling the police department for complaints to having the cars to either ticketed or towed for blocking the driveway.
And as the commission may know, the red curb does not need to be there for the police department to be able to enforce someone blocking a driveway, right? This
Right.
is just an aid to try to maybe help reduce the likelihood of vehicles parking there because people associate the red curb with the ticket or other action by the police department. So that's why it's we don't install red curb tips throughout all the driveways in the city, then we're considering this request because of the impact caused by an adjacent business. But we wouldn't be able to paint the red curb driveway tips for every single homeowner who has the same issue or resident that has the same issue. We encourage them to contact the police department and request enforcement or the appropriate contact made with the registered owner. But in this case, we're considerate of the impacts caused by a business. But anyway, just as additional information.
No, thank you so much. Yeah, and I also noticed also it seems like a safety concern. Like even the Google Maps, the black car parked there could potentially cause like a visual obstacle for the resident coming out and from another car coming down Garfield. So yeah, I think it's a good idea. Mainly, obviously for safety and also like the having people to be able to access their own homes.
Correct.
Alrighty, thank you, Ms. Chavez, for the clarification on the red curbs. Okay, I need a motion from the commission to approve staff's recommendation of installation of the red curb tips.
I'll first motion.
Okay, and I need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. And Madam Secretary, can you take roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair Heredia
Yes.
and Vice Chair Velasco,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Gavilanes,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and the last item on the agenda, traffic safety analysis, a request for enhancing of existing crosswalks with artwork. And Ms. Chavez, will you please give the report?
Yes, thank you, Chair Heredia and members of the commission once again. So this request is for commission consideration of the development of a policy that would need to be developed, obviously under the guidance of our city engineer and traffic engineering team to consider artwork or other decorative design to existing crosswalks and or new crosswalks. So currently it's not a practice conducted by the city, although you do see it in other surrounding cities, right? Primarily, one big city I can think of that has a lot of that is the city of Long Beach. I know, Doug, you've researched some other ones, but anyway, so that is something that is just being brought forward for commission consideration and direction to be provided for the Public Works Department to initiate that policy and then present draft for the commission's review and ultimately to be adopted by City Council. And Doug, please feel free to add anything else, but in essence, I understand it is allowed by the California MUTCD and probably very specific specifics to that once the policy is developed, correct?
Correct. We're looking, our recommendation would be to develop a policy that says, the type of design, colors, color concrete, whatever the case may be, for at least we've had someone take a look at it. It's been blessed by yourselves and then ultimately council. And that way, if based on the project or funding becomes availability, we can install these things as requested. As the engineer, I will provide options and or for your consideration, but I do not make recommendations for color or texture or vibes just because I'll give you direction how to do it, but I won't make those color selections. So, but that's what we'll bring you back some options to take a look at and along with a policy for how we initiate these and a request at the time we want to involve these from that standpoint.
Doug's not the artist, but he can make the rules.
Yes.
Well, I like the idea. It's a definite way to make our city more beautiful. I know that a lot of people in our town don't have cars, so they walk everywhere. So might be nice to see a crosswalk that's some art design. I know it's early stages of this project per se, but would it be possible that we limit the artists to local artists, like in our city? I think that would be more of a, I guess, pride booster for residents to get involved. But that's just like my thought.
That can be written into the policy.
Yes, I would agree with it.
Thank you.
I think it's a wonderful idea. I've actually waited quite a while for someone to step forward in order for them to present this idea. Way before I was even up here, I waited for someone to come up with this idea that it would give the city this, I guess, somewhat of a representation. Because when I think of Bell Gardens, I think of it as like a fresh garden, like like fresh air, something beautiful, something that's completely just fresh, something fresh, something clean, something just so I guess fragile in a way. But I mean, this idea would most definitely give a brand new, just a wonderful look to the city, with certain designs and just certain it would just give it most definitely a revamping to compared to what it looks like now, So I think it's most definitely, yeah, it's a wonderful idea. I think it's great.
Thank you for the feedback.
Yep, I completely agree with Commissioner Velasco and Gavilanes.
Welcome.
Sounds great, and can only wait to see what the artist comes up with and what gets approved, and can kind of already picture it a little bit here and there, but all of it sounds pretty good. And okay, so I need a motion from the commission to go ahead and initiate a policy. I believe it's the recommendation.
I first motion.
And I need a second.
And now second.
Thank you. And Madam Secretary, can you take roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mr. Cheredia,
Yes.
Vice Chair Velasco,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Gavilanes,
Yes.
Commissioner Amy Sanchez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And do we have any comments from staff?
Yes, a few updates. And speaking of artwork, I don't remember if I mentioned it. I apologize if I didn't, but sometime in January, in Public Works and working with the Recreation Department, had a traffic signal box, and this is on the corner of Florence and El Celinda. Okay, the cabinet is on the north side across from the school, but that's the city's first traffic signal box that has artwork, and it was applied vinyl. I think it was a vinyl wrap. Hasn't been vandalized, graffitied in any way since it was installed, and it was artwork, I think, designed by a local artist and in conjunction with feedback from some of the students. And it's really neat. If you haven't gone to see it, check it out. But it has it's a loteria themed. So it's la maestra, el maestro, I think, teacher on both, on all the faces of it. But it's pretty neat. It's yellow. So if you get a chance to check that out. And that was, again, the first. We have 38 cabinets in the city for the 38 traffic signals. So we hope to be able to launch that forward here and continuing to work with our artists and recreation department. So we'll keep you posted on that. Secondly, the commission at the last meeting, I believe it was, had approved the placement of red curb on Charnet. I always say it wrong. Charnet and was it Gage? Emo and Charnet. And that was completed last week by staff. And then also the placement of an additional stop, of 2 additional stops at the intersection of Jaboneria and Cecilia. That was also completed. Now that is an all-way stop. At the last council meeting, following commission's approval, Speed humps were also approved for Ira Avenue between Lubeck and Lublin, and I was out there earlier today. Staff had just finished the installation of the one hump, and they're installing the other two by next Monday. And there was an additional red curb. Oh, that was it. That was email and Charlotte. So those are all the updates I have for the commission this evening. And with any time, please, if there's any requests or concerns you hear about through your communications with our residents or businesses, please reach out, email, call or text and let us know so we can follow up and add it to our traffic review. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Chavez. And do we have any comments from commissioners?
Yes, nice to hear from everybody. I hope everybody is having a great day, being in the shade and finishing off these last days of summer. And so far what I hear when it comes to the city, there's a lot of wonderful changes that are going to take place in the near future. And honestly, I can't wait to see it next year. You know, the fact that we're gonna have somebody changing a lot of little, most definitely big details as in when it comes to art and just all these beautiful, little things that are gonna make such a big difference in the city. So yeah, I think it's great work, great changes, and just that beautiful push that we need, most definitely, and the city of Bell Gardens.
Okay, sounds great. If we don't have any further comments, then we will adjourn to the next scheduled meeting on Tuesday, October 4th, 2022. And this meeting is now closed at 6:04 p.m.
Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.